Hello, hello, and welcome to Genealogy Quick Start. I'm Shamel Jordan, your host. And man, today do we have a show for you. Seriously, I had the pleasure of showing up in an AUGS journal, which is the Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society journal, with Dr. Ellen. And since then, I'm like, I need to know this woman. And guess what? We're getting to know each other, and you're going to get to know her as well if you don't already know her, because she is the special guest tonight. And we have, of course, we have Michael John Neill is here. Sadly, Jim Butler is not with us tonight. We miss you, Jim, but he'll be back. Okay, he'll be back. Send him some love grams to make sure that he knows that you miss him and you wish that he was here. And you're not going to survive until he gets back. But you're going to still hang out with us because we have Michael John Neill here from Genealogy Tip of the Day. And what are we going to quick start? So we, first of all, make sure that you are subscribed to our newsletter. I don't abuse it. I just send it out, to let you know what our episode is going to be about. But tonight, we are going to have a 4 keys for Benjamin Butler. Serves research suggestions. This is Michael talking about one of his folks. And then Ellen is going to talk about something that we are all challenged with. The many names, a Telesforo Carrillo. I said this. Did I spell it right? I think I do. I hope I spelled it right. But yes, many names. We have ancestors and we don't find them. And Ellen is going to share ways that she was able to track this person down. And she has a really cool picture that I know you're going to love. So you know what to do. Put your name. Where are you? And if you are a member of a genealogy group, represent, because there might be a genealogy soul out there that needs saving. So let me know who's out there. And while you're doing that, we're going to bring out the number one quick starter of today, or keys, genealogy tip of the day. Where are you, Michael John Neill? How are you, Michael?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Shamel? How are you?
I'm good. Oh my goodness, I see a pet back there. Whose eyeball is that?
Riley is behind me, but because I've got the thing blurred, see, you're gonna see him in
I
bits
see
and
Riley's
pieces.
eyeball. Hey,
This
Riley,
eyeball.
I miss seeing Riley. Let's vote. Remember to vote for Riley, because Riley likes to run for
He
elections.
does. He does.
And he's out of here now. Thank
He's
you,
out of here
Michael.
for a while. Yeah.
So, Michael, you are doing tonight. First of all, has anything cool happened in your genealogy life?
I've been playing with some infographics with artificial intelligence that are really kind of neat. And some not really discoveries made, but just sometimes the way it organizes things just kind of gives you some insight a little bit with its visual representation of things.
Give me an example of an infographic you created.
Well, I took a deposition from a Civil War pension file, and it took 6 key parts of that and made a quick timeline and an overview of it. And I did it again, giving it more direction, because I like the visualization of it, but I don't like it when it thinks. I want to think. All I wanted it for was to do the graphics, that part that takes a lot of time and for me is tedious and whatnot. And so I gave it more direction for kind of what I wanted, is that what I saw as the 6 key elements in the flow.
Yes.
And then it redid it, and it fit better to what my view for that was. But it was neat because I didn't have to do the layout and get the pictures and do all the illustrations and all that jazz. It did that. I could just kind of put the concepts out there and have it go from there. It needed some modification, but it was a fun start. It's a fun start.
I have to try that. I have so many depositions, and I love design, but it's really cool to get a template and get some help. And
It
you
is.
made a
It
really good
is.
point. People think AI is you just put it in and magically it gives you everything you want. But no, you got to kind of play with it, right?
You need to.
We have Kelly from Virginia. Hello, Kelly. And of course, we have a former special guest, Renata. How are you, Renata? Yes, you were on time, not for once. You were like our number one person for like months. So stop it. And representing Augs HR, Hampton Roads, right? Yay, Hampton Roads. Thank you for representing. And in the Mid-Atlantic here, we have Erwin Pope from Delaware. Hello, Erwin. Miss seeing you. Hello, Selma Stewart from Virginia. Also nice to have you here. And we have someone who is like Dr. Ellen fans are here and ready. Hello, Yoga Rhodes from Short Hills, New Jersey. Yes, Jersey girl, guy, just Jersey. And Shelly. Hello, Shelly in Hawaii. Nice to have you here. And she says hello to you, Renata. All right. So, Michael, I was getting ready to call you Dr. Michael because we have Dr. Ellen here tonight.
I've been called much worse. I'll guarantee you that. So we're good. We're good.
So, Michael, tell me about what is this that you are doing? It is Benjamin Butler serves research suggestions. What's this all about?
Well, we talked. It has the word butler and serves, but Benjamin was not a butler. That was just a play on his last name. Once in a while, he is enumerated as Butter in a census, and he was kind of slippery to find that time. But I finally did find him. But we're going to just see some genealogical lessons from Benjamin's life, and that's what we've done when we do the keys, or take one ancestor, talk about some elements in their life that can kind of give us some research suggestions, which is different from the steps in a quick start where boom, 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 we've got a plan and here's your 4 action items. The keys are a little different. And it's like a lot of our research, every human there's similarities when we were between different people, but there's always little differences and nuances. And so we're just kind of pulling different people, and we're just getting some research ideas from them. And today we're going to look at Benjamin. He's never called Benji, I will say, in any record that he's called Ben a few times, but he's never Benji, as far as I've found.
So tell us a little bit about Benjamin Butler.
Well, Benjamin was born in New York, approximately 1820, and he's one of these people that moves and moves. I don't know how long he's in New York, but by the 1830s, he's in Ontario. And then he's in Michigan, 1845 to 1850. And then he might have been in Illinois for a hot minute. And then by 1870, he's in Iowa. But before that, in the 1860s, as we'll see, he's in Nebraska getting married. And then after he's in Iowa in 1870, he's in extreme west central Missouri in 1880, where he dies a few years after the 1880 enumeration. So he's just constantly moving around. That's one of the 4 elements with him. And he does what some people do, especially because he married twice and his second wife was about 20 years younger than him.
Go Benjamin. All right.
Well, he reproduced with number 1 and number 2. So his kids span a long range of years. And he just kind of leaves them because one became of age in Michigan. So one stayed there. A couple actually came of age in Iowa, so they stayed there. And then the rest of them ended up in Nebraska and Missouri. But he's just kind of dropping them off as he goes along and
dropping his seed all over the Midwest.
I mean, the problem is that he's living somewhere. The kid meets a neighbor, marries him, and stays there. And Benjamin, who has to be somewhere else in every census, just keeps right on moving along. And some people do that. Some stay fixed and never move, but he was not one of those individuals at all, by a long shot.
I think they had a song for him.
They
Papa
probably did.
was a Rolling Stone.
That's
All
it.
right.
That would be it. Yes.
All
That
right,
would be
Michael.
it.
So let's look at these keys, and so we can then show some of your cool documents. So one of the keys to help you with this roving Benjamin was that some people are never in the same place in a census. Well, you kind of described that. Is there
Right. And
is there a reason why he moved so much that you was able to suss out?
he farmed, but he owned land in Michigan, but I don't think he owned land in Missouri, but I don't think he did in Iowa. And I think he just was one of those that had a wanderlust. He just, and he wasn't. Sometimes people that are very wealthy don't move as much because, all your money and your whatever kind of ties you down a little bit. So he wasn't tied down in that sense. The difficulty with someone, though, is proving it's the same when they're moving like this all the time, is to
Yes.
prove you've got the right person. Because there were several different individuals named Benjamin Butler, born about 1820-ish in New York State. It's not a super common name, but it's not that rare either. So that was one of the things I had to be careful of. And I still don't have him in 1860. I think that's the year where I cannot find him. But I
So
had to
what
be
is it that
certain
nailed it down for you where you said, this is my
the
Benjamin?
he was relatively consistent with his year of birth within a few years. I think everything said New York for a birthplace, except for maybe one that said Ontario. And then the wife and it was the wife and the children. Their names and ages were relatively consistent. And there were a few other records I have besides the census that kind of helped tie them
To
together.
that
But
location.
it was the spouse and the names of the children. Fortunately, he had a lot of them. And they grew to adulthood. So that means there's a lot of kids in 1850, 1870, and a few in 1880 to help me figure out, yeah, this is the same person.
All right. So that's the
When they
first
move a
key.
lot, that's a challenge. You want to ask yourself, how sure am I've got the same dude or dudette in these different places in these different records?
You don't want to research somebody else's family unless you're getting paid to do it, right? All
There
right.
you go. There you go.
Key you have is that tax records can be helpful. So how did tax records help you?
In this case, he was in St. Clair County, Michigan for a while, and then he was in St. Joseph County, Michigan before he left Michigan altogether. And I was having trouble getting a fix on when he lived in which one of those counties. And the tax records were the personal property tax records were what helped me with that, to gauge when he was in St. Clair County and when he was in St. Joseph County, and then when he left Michigan and went somewhere else. But he helped me because I knew he was in two Michigan counties, St. Joseph and St. Clair. And the nice thing was he lived in them in alphabetical order. So it helps me. You're laughing and I'm laughing, but I could never, it took a while. Oh, Michael, he was in St. Clair County first and then St. Joseph. That's how you remember, that's my gimmick for remembering it. But he moved. That's the only state where I have information he was in two different counties. And if it weren't for tax records and some land records, I wouldn't even have known. I might not have known he was in one of those counties just based on the short time he
Get
was.
those tax
was
records.
there.
Tax records help so much in so many ways. They help nail down my enslaved folks. So look at those tax records.
Census man may miss, but the tax guy, you know how they are. They don't want to leave anybody out.
The next key for you was land records can help determine spouses. And we're going to show your cool documents after we get through the keys. Talk to us about the land records and spouses.
Well, the nice thing was, when Benjamin bought the land, it was just his name as the grantee when he bought it. But when it's being sold, his wife had to release her dower interest in the property. And so Margaret's name is on those deeds. I still don't have a marriage record. They got married probably in Ontario, maybe in Michigan. I'm not really sure. I still don't have a marriage record for her, and death records and whatnot on their children gave me her maiden name. But initially, I didn't have her name at all, and it was in the land deeds where she's listed as Margaret, and I'm just hoping he was only married to one Margaret and not two different Margarets.
Oh, that drives me crazy when they married a woman with the same first name.
Yeah,
Lord.
based on the DNA, I think he just had one Margaret because his children from Margaret all a DNA match the family we think that Margaret came from. So I'm pretty sure there was just one Margaret and not two. But that's always a concern. But the land deeds help prove also how long, at least for a while, how long she was alive, because she's signing off giving her dower interest. So I know, and again, because I can't find him in 1860 because whatever reason, but I know based on the land deeds, she lived up through, I think, the 1855, 56, because she's listed on the deed when they're selling property.
All right. The fourth key is they may get called a name you never knew. So Benjamin had multiple names.
I'm not really sure what happened in 1880, but he's enumerated as William. And, you could initially say, well, how do you even know that's him? That's just hocus pocus made up. But all the other details fit. It's his 1870 wife. It's the children that should be there are there. The new children are there. And then he has a probate in that county listed as Benjamin, the right name. And that Benjamin has a widow, Nancy, who's listed as the wife of this William. And all the details match to be Benjamin. The age is consistent. The birthplaces are all consistent. So, for whatever reason, and what we always want to remember about the census is that digital image that we use was made from the microfilm copy of the cleaned up version the enumerator made when they went back to wherever they had their office, so to speak. And so they're looking at their field notes, as we call them, that they took when they went around the neighborhood to take the census. And then they're going back and writing a cleaned up copy. And if you think about it, if you had to go to all these houses and take the census, would it look as, I know sometimes the handwriting in these is bad, but think about how relatively consistent there are. There aren't a lot of smudges and smears and all that kind of stuff, because that's what copy we're using, is that cleaned up copy. But to go back to the William.
Yeah, you was like in genealogy, minutia land there.
Yeah, well, there's a reason for that, because the census taker's making that cleaned up copy. And he looks at his field notes and there's something he can't read, or maybe he has to guess. Is he going to go back to that couple and say, I can't read what I wrote. I need clarification. He is not going to go back and ask them for clarification. He's just going to guess.
Wing it.
He's going to wing it. Now, is that what happened in this case? I don't know. Maybe, who knows how it got to be William, but that's, whenever I see an error in the census like that, an initial off or part of the thing wrong, I always have to wonder, when the dude wrote up the cleaned up copy, what smeared ink was he looking at when he did that transcription? And he's not going to go back and ask for clarification. Put yourself in his shoes. That's just what's going to happen.
Totally agree. So, Michael, you have these really cool. Oh, and I think we have, before I talk about that, what I hear is the same thing going on. The way you know it's your person is by the things around them, the people around them. Okay, so let's look at your cool documents. What do we have here?
We didn't talk about the probate, but he's got an awful probate, because it doesn't mention any heirs by name besides his wife. His wife, this is her relinquishment to give up her right to be the administrator of his estate. And what I thought was kind of cool, I should have made a zoomed in version of it. She has made her mark down there. And I've seen a lot of documents where people make their mark, but this is one of the very few times where the clerk has not called it her mark, which is
her
what
cross.
You'll see, her cross. And I think this is one of the very few times where I've seen it referred to as her cross and not her mark.
What do you think that means?
I think it's just the preference of the writer of the the clerk or the notary who's writing this out, he just chose to call it a cross because it was an X or a cross. That was it.
But the writing seems different than the
writing,
writing.
it is different from the rest of that. So I'm taking off my
Maybe she
glasses to
wrote
look at it.
that.
So
I
I'm
don't
not
know.
sure if she wrote that and also made her mark. What you might notice here, and I'm trying not to go down in the weeds as you referenced a little bit earlier there with genealogy minutia land. But and the problem is this was a scan made of a black and white photocopy. I haven't seen the original.
It looks pretty
But
good though. But I
it's
get what
pretty
you're
good. But
saying.
if you look for just a second where it says Nancy Jane Hercross Butler, and then it looks like the May 24th, whatever the date was of 1886.
Yep,
It looks
same
like
hand.
May 24th exactly. And see, the day is left blank. Like the
Yeah.
clerk wrote it out, didn't date it because they had to get her to sign it. So to that different handwriting, I'm still thinking that's her cross, but they
Right.
wrote that out and they had to take it back to her because she ain't going all the way to the courthouse to sign that. So they make it out legal like, leave it blank, just had the year on there, take it, the notary or JP, whatever, takes it back to Nancy to sign, and then the notary writes in the precise date, the May, whatever, 20 something, and then her name, she makes her cross, and then he writes her cross.
Gotcha.
That's my speculation on that.
I like that. I like that.
This is when he and Nancy got hitched. This was in 1864 in Richardson County, Nebraska. And I've tried to find him in Nebraska and Kansas in 1860, and have had no luck with that. But this was when he marries his second wife, Nancy, in Nebraska. Right, this is right on the Missouri border there.
I love this. What is this?
This was an 1845 Michigan State Census for St. Clair County. So this was helpful. We talk about federal censuses a lot. This was the first census, I think. Yeah, the first one where I have Benjamin.
Yeah.
And I discovered this years ago. I was not aware that Michigan, at least in St. Clair, and I think a few other counties, had a state census, and Benjamin is listed there. And so that was really cool for me to.
It looks like Benjamin Butler.
And the thing is, a lot of times when I'm looking for him in an index, that's how it gets transcribed as Butter. And when we think about, that's talk about how to search using wildcards and sound decks and things like that. But Butter and Butler, yeah, they are not sound decks equivalent because of the L's and the T's. So that's just something you gotta think about. But if both those letters get across, people think they're Butters, and they're not. This is him in 1850 in St. Clair County, Michigan. So we're just going to go through the census enumerations for him. So he was born in New York. Margaret was born in Canada. This is the only census I have for Margaret. So I'm kind of thinking they were married in Canada because a couple kids were born there. And then Mary and George were born in Michigan. So that kind of helped give me, and that's consistent with that 1845 census. This is in Soap Creek, Davis County, Iowa. And here he's saying he's born in Upper Canada. But again, I don't know who gave that information. Nancy might have given that information. Okay. But if you look, Nancy meets him later in life. He's 51. She's 27, I think there.
Go Benjamin.
Yeah. And some of those are Margaret's children. Ellen is my double great grandma. Then I think Harriet and Charles and Benjamin. I think Benjamin is Nancy's, but the older ones are Margaret's children. And I think those birthplaces are relatively correct, except for Benjamin.
Look at the timeline of their life.
Right. I mean, they're in Iowa, Michigan, and they, according to this, go back to Michigan, Kansas, Illinois, and Michigan. So I'm pretty certain those are correct because other things about those kids are consistent with that. So he's moving around quite a bit in the 1850s.
Dude had swagger, like he was swagging, and he was all over the Midwest. I mean, look at that.
But by this point in time, he's working on the railroad, so he might have been going from one job to the next, perhaps.
He was a railroad guy
at this point in time. Yes. Then here he is in Vernon County, Missouri in 1880. And it's WM. So the thing is, I don't know what it goes back to, I don't know what the census taker put on his actual field notes, but if he abbreviated Benjamin in a real, whatever way, his Benjamin shorthand might have looked like William. When he looked at, you just don't know. You don't know. But the birthplaces are consistent. He's all New York. She's still Pennsylvania, which she was in 1870. And then the children are pretty much, there's just Benjamin that was alive earlier. These others are after 1870 there. But then that's consistent with the probate for Benjamin, which lists Nancy as a widow a few years later, also in Vernon County, Missouri. And this is another guy we talk about making timelines and making maps. This is the timeline is helpful here, and this is also
you gotta have a timeline
map
with Benjamin.
And a map to keep all these places where you can look at them to see the flow of where he's going. And there's so darn many with him, you might want to color code them by decade or something, just to help keep it a little more to where it. Because again, any visual you make, you want to make it in such a way that it helps you, not hinders you. So I might colorize him by decade, just to make.
Yeah, he needs some color. He needs every kind of organization thing that you could possibly have. So timelines. Did his signature help you to distinguish him from other Benjamins?
In this case, not really, because there's those deed records in Michigan. Of course, those are record copies of the deed.
Yeah,
aren't going to have his signature, and I think there may be a couple of things in his probate where he owes money when he died, and the holder of the note turned in the note as evidence. So there's some real latent life signatures, but I think for him that's about it, because there's just no other documents. Now, the thing I could do with him that I haven't done, we've talked about context search. And so what I should do in all these counties where he lived, and there's a lot of them, I should look in family text, full text search to see if he appears in somebody else's probate or a court record in Union County, Iowa, the 2 counties in Michigan, the one in Missouri, maybe a lot of places, but a full text. Because, he could be mentioned as a debtor in somebody's estate, owing them money in Michigan in the 1850s, or in Iowa or anywhere. So that might be something else to consider with him. Even though he didn't die in Michigan, sometimes you might say, well, why would I want to look for probate records mentioning Benjamin in Michigan? He lived 30 more years. Well, yes, he did. But he might be mentioned as somebody else's, and a full text search would be a great way to find that.
And for me, that is absolutely the beauty of the full text search, is that it is showing every name, and there's lots of African Americans that might not even show up in censuses from the early 1800s, but they show up in these probate records of other people that we would have never found if it wasn't for full text search. So that's another thank you, Family Search.
Yes.
So Michael, I loved it. Let's look at your 4 keys for Benjamin Butler serves research suggestions. Key 1 is that, Lord, some people may not be where you expect them to be in the census. Key number 2, tax records can be very helpful. Number 3 is that land records can help determine spouses like Nancy. And key 4 is that they may get called a name you never knew and they never had. So, right, Michael? He wasn't
exactly
William, right, as far as we know. Michael, thank you so
Thank you.
much.
That was fun. I've got some things to do now after we get done that I hadn't thought about before. So I'm really glad we talked about Benjamin tonight. That was a good choice on my part. Gives me some things to do.
Thank you, Michael. You have
Thanks,
a great
guys. You too. Good night.
Bye, Riley. Tell Riley, please.
I will tell Riley, arf, arf. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Give me 1 second to get ready for Ellen, Dr. Ellen. All right. I am so excited to have my co-author from the Augs Journal here with me tonight. Everyone, please welcome Dr. Ellen. How are you?
Hi, I'm fine. I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on. This is
Thank
fun.
you for being here. We haven't even started to have fun yet, Ellen. Now that you're here, the fun's going to really begin. Michael's fun and you're super fun, I'm sure. So, Ellen, I'm going to ask you the question I ask all of our special guests. Let us know your genealogy origin story. How did you get started, and when did you know that you were hooked?
I started with my mom telling me stories. I grew up in the South Bronx when I was little, so it's a very urban area. And then my mom would tell me all these stories about her growing up in this small town in Northwest Puerto Rico, which was nothing like the Bronx. It was called Moca, Puerto Rico. So then at a certain point, when the census records began to be released, I started to be able to find some of the people that she talked about. And that just sent me over. I just couldn't believe that I could find them. And then like at that time, she didn't even know the maternal surnames. So even that was information for her too. Yeah.
That's super cool. Like, isn't it just amazing to see people's names on the census? Like, I couldn't believe seeing my grandmom in 1930, which was the first census record I found for myself. And so that was how you got started. Very cool. And how did she react when she saw what you brought her?
She was surprised, and then she would point out other people or mention other things. So there was a lot of jotting, a lot of trying to record kind of parts of pieces of oral history to work on later, which I work on later. But at the time, I'm just taking notes. Yeah.
Wow. Dr. Shelley says hello. Dr. Shelley is incognito under another email today, but that's okay. I don't know. Thank you for being here, Dr. Shelley. So,
hey, Dr. Shelley.
I love these doctors. Dr. Ellen, what are we talking about? Your quick start is the many names. Say his name. So
the many names of Telesforo Carrillo. So this is my third great grandfather. And I just couldn't understand why I couldn't find it started out because my grandfather, Ramon Fernandez, I tried to find his birth certificate. So I always knew him as Ramon Fernandez Matos. So I go look for that, nothing. He came out of a very large family of about 11 kids. So I could find for other kids, but I couldn't find his. And then I started looking for, I knew the names of his parents, so then tried to find that. And then working that backwards in time. And it's amazing that my grandfather was born like 1901. So it's quite a long time. And I look good for 100, right? So, but it's amazing. It's just from another time. So then I found that, he used a different surname. His daughter, Catalina, my grandfather's mother, used different surnames. And then her father used different surnames. So that was the thing I was trying to work through when I did working on their genealogy.
So Lillian says, Dr. Ellen helped me to find so many ancestors in my tree, especially my paternal lineage. She is amazing. I agree, Lillian, she is. So are you ready to get started with your quick start?
Yes, I am.
All right, so let's get going with the many names of Telesforo Carrillo. Almost got it. All right, so step one, we're going to go through the steps, and then we'll show your many documents. We have a lot of documents, so we'll kind of give you the highlight right now. So step one you have is to locate local histories. Tell us what you mean by local histories and where do we find these?
Well, for a lot of people, sometimes when they first know that their ancestor comes from Puerto Rico, that's all it says. It's Puerto Rico. And that is really frustrating. There's 78 different municipalities in Puerto Rico. And then once you start to know like which municipality and where, you start really to understand a lot more about the context of their lives. So especially too, if they're outside of major cities like Ponce or San Juan, or even Mayagüez, those are like big hubs. But then you have people living all over and also moving different places. So it's really, really a good thing to start thinking about, understanding that local history. So there's like Encyclopedia PR that has articles in English and Spanish that you could look things up in. There's Notas para su Historia. If you can read Spanish, you'll go a little faster, but that shouldn't dissuade you. You should take an opportunity to learn another language to learn this way by work on your ancestors.
So learn about the area, like where they might specifically be beside, like they just say like United States or New Jersey, like
exactly
specific.
Right.
All right.
Or like somebody tells you they're in Manhattan,
Yes. Oh my Lord. No, thank you. Step 2 is to learn your location with maps. Where do you like to find your maps? Where are the good ones?
The Library of Congress. There's another great set of military maps that are in the Archivo Digital Nacional de Puerto Rico, which is online, a free site that has these really beautiful hand-drawn maps from the 1880s that the Spanish military did. And if you're in a rural area and you really want to get kind of a lay of the land, you can also find like the names of people who own plantations and stuff mentioned in the map as well. And also even Google Maps. Google Maps is a really great thing to start with, just so that you get used to the landscape, because Puerto Rico has a lot of variables in its landscape. You got like mountains, you got beach, you got you have just flatlands in places. So you have a lot of variety.
Fantastic. So I love maps. So yeah, let's go get those maps. Library of Congress is king or queen. Step 3, use a timeline. So that's kind of self-explanatory. We talked a lot about that. Step 4 is to work with other people. I love this one. Like we call that boots on the ground. How has explain that a little bit for us?
Well,
how it worked for you.
You're often not the only person looking for your ancestor. There are other people, but if you work in a group, I mean, really, it makes such a difference, because some of the major finds that I've had, it's because I've had cousins who had been looking also, and they passed the document on to me. And that has been incredible. Sometimes it's just a thing you may not have found on your own, but it was just the thing you need to kind of fill in the story.
Cousins are great.
Yes.
Historians and genealogists in the local area are great too. Step 5, obtain a word list. What is this word list?
Well, you can get a Spanish genealogical word list from the wiki, Family Search Wiki. And it's a really good thing if your Spanish is not very good, or you're just starting out, and then to realize that when you look at documents, a lot of times they're really boilerplate. Like they're going to ask, they've got the location. Here's where the name goes. Here's where the parent's name goes. Sometimes you have like 4 generations on a document. And if you know like abuelo, abuela, it's the grandparents, So like you start to fill in as you work with it. And I think it's really helpful for people to do. I don't think that you should say, oh, I don't read Spanish, No, tírate, get in there, check it out,
Totally agree. If you want to find your people, you need to figure something out, right? Grow, learn. Step 6 is to publish an article. Yes, I love that. Document it so that people can have it for the future. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. And you could have a writing group, or you can have, you can submit it to, you could do a guest post on somebody's blog, or you could start your own blog, or, if you want to, you could work towards building an article for genealogy journals. But it's really important, because I think this way you have it gives them permanence, it really roots the ancestor's story, and also makes it possible for other people to access that story as well.
And it makes the work that you have done, it's kind of like the deliverable, like it is showing your work, and you've done that for a reason, because you want it to be known. So let's share it. And the cool thing, I love what you said, writing group. Genealogy groups have writing groups. So make sure that you're a member of a genealogy group. I'm 1000% a fan of groups, and I'm a fan of pictures of ancestors. So Your
So
ancestors are
so this
darling.
is the guy who's standing is my grandfather, Ramon Fernandez Matos, and he was or Carrillo. So Ramon, this is when he was first married, and he married in New York in 1920. So that's actually the first, kind of the first wave of the Puerto Rican diaspora in New York. The second wave was like in the 40s.
I had to blow them up because they are just so cool.
And I'm not
Like,
sure like who the gentleman is in the chair. I think he sort of looks like his wife, so it could be his brother-in-law, possibly her father. I'm just not sure. The post, I mean, I was lucky to even get a picture of this postcard.
this is beautiful.
And this is just to show the different municipalities. There's 78 of them, and they all have like different dates of founding. So those are good things to know, because sometimes you have a place that's actually split off from another, but it's actually you go to the adjacent municipality to find the records. And Family Search has the biggest collection of Puerto Rican records out there.
Fantastic. Do they have, like, I know these aren't counties, but the Newberry Library has for like the states, the Atlas of County boundaries. Do they have that, this Puerto Rico included in that, or they just do the
I think,
continental?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. It could be stateside. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah. And then this is Rio Grande, was where Telesforo Carrillo was born. And I just wanted to show that it's, you know, it's not in San Juan. It's kind of like out on the east of the island.
What? Everything's in San Juan. What are you talking about?
And then with this Google map, what's really great about it is that you could see like San Juan, and the area that's outlined on the right-hand side is where Rio Grande is. And that's like near El Yunque constitutes part of that, which is the tropical rainforest in Puerto Rico. So we're talking like a rural area. But what's interesting is that people will move from there just the same way that Telesforo did. And then they'll wind up going to San Juan, or they go to Gurabo, or they go to one of the other municipalities in the area, live there for a while, and then move on. So it's good to kind of familiarize yourself with it. And also the rivers, there's a lot of water in Puerto Rico, in the landscape. And sometimes you could kind of see like people actually follow that, follow that path.
So understanding those migration patterns.
Exactly. And this, his death record, which is in the Registro Civil, the civil registration starts in Puerto Rico in 1885. So this is for Telesforo Matos. And what's funny is like, even though it says Telesforo Matos Ramos, he's there, but his parents are listed as Jose Matos and Maria Carrillo, difuntos. So his parents are dead, but they didn't even put the right names on here. So I don't know where the Ramos came
Holy
from
moly,
exactly.
these aren't his parents?
No, and then it's my grandfather's father who was the witness who reported this, who reported his death.
What's going on?
Yeah, and it actually gives you the street names, and some of the street names can change, but that's something else you can look up as well, with these.
So Dr. Shelley wants to know if the migrating is connected with work. Like your ancestor and Michael's ancestor, they're like moving all over the place.
Yeah, definitely. It's usually the number one reason, because there's more chance you can get a job in San Juan, in the San Juan metropolitan area, than you would if you're out in the boonies.
Yeah, because I noticed, I wasn't going to say that it was boonies where he was, but it didn't look as populated as
It's
the
not
other.
as populated, and then it's like it's limited. I mean, he was a carpenter, and I don't know how long he did that, but that's like the occupation that he's listed under. So it makes sense that he would have gone to a city to get work, this Santurce. Yeah. And so one of the things that I found out about him was that in 1860, trying to figure out like, well, where's his mom? Because it said that his mother it said Maria Carrillo, but it really was, her name was Maria Isabel Carrillo, but I didn't find any documents for her. And then my cousin Maria Creeder actually passed on this image of this Rio Grande census from 1860, and it really shocking that there he is. He's living with his grandmother, and there's another older man who I don't know what his role is, whether that is, they're both widowed, Agustina and Esteban, but I don't know if he's just boarding or if he's just her partner or what. But anyway, he's only 15 years old at that time, so something happened. So I figured the most likely thing is that his mother had died, and I still haven't found a death record for her, but his grandmother's taking care of him at that point in 1860.
Nice.
And then when you open up the census record, I realized that the census record had Población Blanca, so it's actually divided by race. So it's a Población Blanca, and then, but that's not where they're listed. They're listed on the other side, Población de Color. So that also gives you some clues about the family, you know, and where else to look. And that it's actually like it's Afro-Indigenous ancestry. But like in 1808, they canceled the word Indio in Puerto Rico and they used pardo, which is brown. Like everything became brown. So so that's part of this as well, you know.
So they made, so anybody who was considered indigenous or of African descent were on the color side.
Yeah. Yeah. And you
Did
could
it
also see their
change?
status where this is libre, which is free, esclavos, which is enslaved. And then so they're inventorying everybody. So they're free people of color.
Wow.
Yeah, and you could see there again, it says libres varones, which is male, free males and free females.
Okay, and the age
And so that's the whole a household of 3 people.
Interesting. Wow. I was looking for you telling me to what that was. So cool. What do we have here? This is cool.
Well, Agustina Carrillo Santiago, who's Telesforo's grandmother, she dies in May 1865. And this book is it's so sad, but it's so amazing that even this fragment, you know, that we even have that, because that's where her burial record is there. But then there's the record of her grandson in there and the record of the other the Pinto Estrada man who was living in that household is also on here as well. So if all these people die at this time, so there was either a natural disaster or there was an epidemic, but church records don't really get into that. They'll tell you like we're burying them. This is, you know, this is how we buried them, and you know, and when.
Yeah. Wow.
And in March 1866, the following year, he gets married to Andrea Maldonado. And this is where you start to see his name as not what you have on that death record, but you have Telesforo Carrillo, hijo natural de Isabel. And an hijo natural means that his mother was single, and so there's no father listed. And where does his father appear? On his death record in 1920, which is a really long time. So and I haven't been able to find anything on that guy either. And then his wife also has the names of her parents on there. So you could see it's male and female. Both her parents are listed.
So tell me again, why no Fernandez?
Oh, it's not Fernandez yet. It's Fernandez when his daughter gets married. It's not Matos. Okay. So supposedly he was Telesforo Matos Ramos in his death record. And here he's Telesforo Carrillo.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that's just showing you the family. I descend from Catalina, my cousin Yoli, who's also on the call. She comes from Catalina as well. And you could see that for Telesforo, he had a lot of kids. You know, he had like about at least 12 here. And I think I found another couple recently. Just in putting this together, I started to review some information, and I think there's actually additional kids to add.
Wow, he had more kids. Did he have from one wife, or did he have multiple wives?
From what I could see so far, it's just one wife, you know.
Nice. How many kids have you counted so far?
13.
Beat my grandma by 1.
And I think there might be 2 more. And then so this is my grandfather's birth record. And we used to celebrate his birthday at the end of August, okay? So this is a little different. So now in his birth record, it says hijo legítimo del declarante. So it was um, his father who went, Juan Fernandez Quinta, who appears on the death record for Telesforo, and it gives his origin from Orense, España, and that he worked as a journeyman or not a jornalero, which is an agricultural worker in Puerta de Tierra, which is where all the ships release people in San Juan.
Okay.
And just the details here, like, so my grandfather was born on the 10th and 4 in the morning, and it mentions his wife Catalina Carrillo, not Catalina Matos. And it says that she's from Natural de Rio Grande, and sometimes they mention grandparents, but this one I don't believe did.
Did not. So where did you get this record?
That's Family Search, and I just put a color tint on it.
Oh, okay. So this came from Family Search. Cool.
Yeah.
Were you able to find it because of the cool full text search, or just like, regular?
Oh no, there was no. Well, it's just searching with the names, and then then
Gotcha.
looking inside. Oh yeah, so here is his grandparents. So it has the paternal
Nice.
grandparents, Joaquin Fernandez, and that's for not for Telesforo, but for Juan Fernandez Quinta, and his wife Maria Quinta. These people never came to Puerto Rico. And I think he may have even been a stowaway, or he came by himself, and 3 different dates and 3 different census records. So I don't know
Wow.
exactly when he arrives. And then on the maternal side, from my grandfather, it's Telesforo Carrillo, and it says natural y domicilio. He's living in Rio Grande, and he's married with Andrea. And I think they also messed up her name in here, which looks almost like Cerrato or something like that, which is not her surname, from Rio
What
Grande.
should her name be?
Maldonado.
Maldonado. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this record.
And then this is a document I got to photograph a number of years ago, but it's a 1925 passport photo of my grandfather with his first family. And, it just has Ramon Fernandez on there. And that's the only picture I have of the woman that he married, Carmen Dorrillos Picon. And those are my aunts and my uncle who have all passed, but when they were children. But it was very sad. He worked on a ship. He worked for a company, I think Sunshine Biscuit Company, and he went down to Valparaiso, Chile, with his boss. And he took his wife, who was pregnant, and he took his kids, and she died. The baby died. Then he had to go back to Puerto Rico. He had to drop the kids off with his mom to take care of them. And then he went back to New York. And what did he do? He married my grandmother. He found my grandmother. My grandmother saw him on a bus and said, "Wow, this guy must have some money. He's always in a suit." What she didn't know is that it was the only clothes he had, and he had to take them off at 1 day a week so that they would get cleaned or whatever. But she wound up marrying him and having another family, with him.
So are you connected with the other family?
Not so much. I mean, I knew them more when I was younger, when I was a kid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my goodness. I love this picture. This is absolutely a darling picture. And this is grandpa before grandma.
Before my grandma.
Oh my gosh. What did your family say and first, where did you get this from? Where did you find this document?
I was over my aunt's house one day, and she pulled down a box with some photographs in it, some documents and photos in it. And I'm still looking for a photograph of Catalina. Catalina, I actually got to meet my great grandmother. She lived to be 104 years old. She came to New York when I was a kid, and I thought, wow, this person is like really old. Like, I don't think I've ever seen anybody this old. But and I think she was in her 80s then. I don't think she was quite. She wasn't a centenarian, but she wound up going back to PR.
80 was 100 back then. This is
So, and
beautiful.
instead of that, what I found was this document that was all folded up, and she had it, and I have the photograph. Yeah.
So this is telling me that your family knew about this family.
Well, we grew up with them. You know, we grew up
Okay,
with Uncle Bobby was the kid in the back, and then
gotcha.
Gloria is Dolly, and Sylvia. Sylvia died when I was, I think, in my teens or something. But I did get to grow up with them. But it wasn't. But I didn't know anything about his first wife, or like what
Right.
had happened there. And they were so young. I don't know how much of that story they would have held on to as well.
Yeah, what a story, like tragic and just like, heartwarming and just grateful to have that someone preserved these documents, right? And that's what we're all doing, right? We are uncovering and pulling these dispersed documents from all over to help to tell our family story. And you did it beautifully.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
I want to go through these steps that we're all going to remember and follow so that we can pull these documents together to tell our family stories. The many names of Telesforo Carrillo. Step one, locate local history. Step two, learn your location with maps, my favorite genealogical document besides death certificates. Step three, use and cadastral maps. Step three, use a timeline. Step four, work with other people. Very important. Step five, obtain a word list. And you said Family Search Wiki. Step six, publish an article. The culmination of your work. Be proud of your work. Dr. Ellen, I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much for being
Thank you so
here.
much for having me.
And and yes, we'll be seeing you again, I hope. Take care, everyone. Thank you for being here.